Stand by like Q's 2 through 33, sound 1A through 7. On deck, stand by Q actors. Electrics, kill the blue run lights, please. Like Q 2 and sound 1A. Go.
From Arizona Theater Company, this is Hang in Focus with your host, Sean Daniels.
As someone that grew up in Arizona, it's a great way for us to share the work that we do worldwide.
And featuring co-host Chanel Bragg.
That is our responsibility, is to reflect what is going on in the world.
Streaming live from the State Theater of Arizona.
Let's do it. Let's really use this moment to re-envision our...
Welcome to Hang in Focus Live with Sean Daniels.
This is the new Arizona Theater Company. I am just glad that you're here.
On today's show, Sean and Chanel sit down for a conversation with Kait Kerrigan and Bree Lowdermilk, lyric and music writers for our upcoming production of Justice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hang and Focus. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Chanel Bragg.
Hey, everyone. How you doing?
So, Chanel, where are you? You look like you're in a hotel room. What has happened?
I am in a hotel room. So I just want to give a special shout out to the Utah Shakespeare Festival in their REACH program, which they wanted Arizona Theater Company to participate in, which is really wonderful. So for the week, I have had the ability to come here and watch all the different shows that they have, which is fantastic. I just watched a comedy of terrors and comedy of errors yesterday, which was really, really funny. The talent pool here is incredible. We assumed, it was even funny because, David Ivers that was here with us before was also at Utah Shakespeare. So even hearing them insert jokes about David inside of the inside of the show, this has been really interesting. It's like 6 degrees of separation. So I was like, oh my gosh. And they're so excited that we're here, and they've been so hospitable. And I've made a lot of friends too. So one of the young lady's grandmothers, her and I just happened to keep sitting either with each other or near each other at a lot of the shows. And so I have now also gained a special friend that hopefully will turn into a future subscriber of Arizona Theater Company when she's in town. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, but a compliment to you, right? That they want to make sure that you're up there and you're seeing the actors, designers, directors.
Right, for sure. And I'm also grateful too, because, there's a lot of crossover too. Like our production manager and our TD used to also be there, and all of their employees speak very fondly about them too. And this is their first season without them. So, I think it's just really incredible to see that they're still thriving, still doing really, really well. But to Becky and Nils, everyone says hi.
Right. Great. So we have some really phenomenal interviews, right, to share with everyone today. You want to give them just a little highlight of what they're about to see?
Absolutely. So we have, as you know, for the course of the last year, really, Sean has been so wonderful in introducing us to all of his great friends. And we've had some really powerful interviews. But as we start to wind closer to our production of 80-Year-Old Boyfriend starting off our season, we have been tailoring, if you've noticed, all of our remaining episodes to kind of be centered around our season. And so last week, of course, we were focused on the Vault episode of Christina Ham, talking beautifully about Nina Simone, and we're excited. And we have a special in the upcoming weeks. You'll see Tiffany Nicole Green, our director, will also be doing an interview that you would love to see. But for Justice, the Justice team, we've spoken to Lauren several times. We haven't got a chance to really talk to about Justice specifically, because I believe you had Bree on in an earlier episode of Hang in Focus, right?
Like episode 2.
Right.
At the very, very beginning, when I was like, who are my at one point I thought we were going to have a weekly musical guest. I thought it was going to be a talk show. So we had Bree Cabod, and she sang, and it was amazing. And afterwards I had booked 3 people and a musical guest. It was insanity, right? So we pared it back after that.
Oh my God. Well, yes, I'm glad, because we would have ran out of guests. For sure. But Bree was so gracious to come back on. And so we got to have a more in-depth conversation with her. And we also got to have an in-depth conversation with Kait as well. And off camera, I got to hang out with her baby. So it was a lot of fun. And they're just 2 very dynamic individuals. And I've been a fan of their music. As soon as I heard that they were doing our composing for Justice, I was like, okay, I got to go actually look up everything they do. And then as soon as I started telling friends within the community who was working on the show, they're like, wait, what? what? You're singing music from who? So I'm excited about our community embracing these artists that we have to be a part of our next season. So it's exciting, and I can't wait for you to see these beautiful interviews with both Kait and Bree talking about justice. And you get to learn a little bit about them too.
Great. Oh, wait, hold on. Look who came in the room.
Oh, hi, Veronica. Hello, beautiful.
Hello, how are you today?
We're wonderful. And Veronica is a part of our cast of Pemberley. So give it up for Pemberley, everyone.
Yeah. Well, actually, she's not going to be in Pemberley.
What?
Oh, and then Pemberley, I thought you were talking about Justice. You were talking about Justice. Oh, you're right.
Dude, I like literally just got fired.
Guys, breaking news. You're all fired. Oh, we were talking about Justice. And at one point, she was in the workshop of Justice.
Yes.
Because she was going to be in it, but now she's in Pemberley. Don't listen to me.
How horrible. You come in and offer to make your husband lunch and he recasts you.
Well, it's been rectified. So
That's right.
Veronica is in Pemberley. We are so grateful to have you in that show, and also many locals in that show as well. And we're excited. And you're going to hear more about that. So let's talk about that transition, Sean. So we are going to move into Hang and Focus being a little bit different. So we've been coming to you every single week for an hour-long episode, and we love spending that time with you. However, we got work to do. So Sean is going to be in rehearsals, and so we are going to actually pare down Hang and Focus to be little mini episodes for you. So you're still going to get great content. You're still going to get that touch with us every Friday at 4:00 p.m., but it's just going to look a little bit different to accommodate our new schedule.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But, people can still tune in every Friday to learn what it is. What are you doing? Always the question.
Absolutely. And in those episodes, you'll meet our production team, you'll meet our designers. There'll be specialized interviews, and then they'll be small, so you can still have enough time to go buy a ticket to come see our shows.
Right. All right, let's get to the interviews.
Awesome. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. And next week we start the new Hang and Focus.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So hello, Kait. It's so glad to have you as a part of this installment of Hang and Focus. So please just do a little mini brief introduction of your wonderful self so all of our patrons can get a chance to get to know you better.
Great. I'm Kait Kerrigan, she, her pronouns, and I write musicals and plays. I write lyrics and I write book and occasionally I also write plays. So I do all the words, and I am working with the Arizona Theater Company to work on a musical called Justice. Woo. And that's with the wonderful Lauren Gunderson, who is writing the book, and the incredible Bree Lowdermilk, who is writing the music. And so I'm the lyricist on that project.
Fantastic. Thank you. And how long have you been in that profession? Like, how long have you been in love with language?
Oh gosh, I've been in love with language forever, I think. I think I had that from the time I was like a little bitty kid. There's very there's like part of my like fable growing up when I was a kid was that I was in a production of Carousel when I was 3 with my mom. My mom she was playing this Carrie Snow. It's Carrie. What's her name? Oh my God, she ends up being.
You can't ask me. I just don't know.
I forget her last name. Pepperidge, something like that. But she was playing that role, and so they have kids in the show, and I played this little 3-year-old, and I turned 3 during the production, and I actually like gave myself a line at the top of the second act, and the first time I did it, everybody was like, "Oh, that's weird." This 3-year-old opened the second act with a line before we sing This Is a Real Next Clam Bake. And then the next night the person like tried to like put me on their lap. So I was like, "Aunt Nellie, can I sit on your lap?" And then the next night they tried to like just put me on Aunt Nellie's lap. And I was like, no, as the curtain's going up. And then like I delivered my line. So I think I've always been around and interested in making up words for theatrical purposes. But I left theater and making theatrical words for a long time. I did a lot of fiction writing, and it was very private for me. And then when I got to high school, I started directing a little bit. And then in college, I started directing and writing and devising pieces. And I really loved collaborating with other artists. And I didn't quite know what I was doing. I didn't know that I was devising. I didn't have the word for that, but that experience of making theater with other writers made me very excited. And I started writing my first play after doing that first devising experience. And then that summer, Bree actually reached out to me. We knew each other when we were growing up. And Bree reached out and said, hey, here you're writing plays. Do you want to write a musical? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. Because that's what you do when you're 20. And so we started writing a musical together. And as it turned out, I had been studying the violin for 15 years. I started studying violin when I was around 3. And so I had tons of music experience, and the way that you bow is very similar to the way that you breathe, and understanding phrasing was something that musical phrasing was something that was very organic to me. And so becoming a lyricist was something that so Bree started teaching me how to do. It's like, I think you would be good at this. And we started playing around with that. And then I did the BMI workshop and I started writing musicals. And so that was around the end of college. And I had intended to, go be an academic and like research and study and write papers that probably no one would read. Was my plan.
I doubt that.
And teach. Those are the things that I thought I would do. And then I started writing musicals, and I realized that, and plays, and I realized that I could channel that interest in research and studying and writing into something that people would actually want to experience or read or be engage in a different way. And that got me really excited. So I kept going, and I'm still writing plays and musicals.
That is absolutely beautiful. So I know quite a few friends of mine that have a lot of your work in their books. And so when I've shared with them, who the composer and lyricists were on Justice, they were like, wait a minute, I'm sorry, what? And so just to let you know that your reputation definitely precedes you. Like there are a lot of people in town that are especially excited just because of your connection.
I'm so excited about that because, we entered theater in a very strange, like New York City theater, in a very strange moment where you'd been told that you should write a calling card musical. You should write something small, and then that small project would then lead you to bigger projects. And we were in a moment in New York where there was no such thing as off Broadway anymore. It just had kind of broken apart. And so we were trying to figure out how to get our music out there and try to get people singing our songs. And so we started putting them on YouTube. And that led us to an extraordinary opportunity of access and creating this space for us to connect directly with singers and connect directly with people who were fans of what we were doing. And we kind of bypassed, for better or worse, we kind of bypassed that first phase. And we have this amazing group of people that know what we've made. But we have very few people who've seen anything that we've made. Right. So it's really, really thrilling for me now to be able to walk into theaters where the leadership has gotten younger and and have there be a sense of like, oh, we know who you are, and we know that you've been making things for this long, and we're excited to see what happens when it is on stage and not. And I'm so thrilled that we get to do that now. And because from the beginning, we've been trying to make things that are on stage and are theatrical. And I think that because there are these songs that feel like set pieces on their own, it's hard to know whether or not they all fit together. So being able to finally make a lot of new work that is an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours is really, really thrilling for me, because that's the part of it that is the most satisfying.
That is so beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about where you went to school. And so where did you study? Is that how you met Bree? while you were in school, or you knew each other before?
We knew each other as kids, actually. So I studied violin. I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania, and my dad lives in the Philadelphia area, and he's involved in a theater company called the Young People's Theater Workshop. And I did some summer projects with them, but I didn't live in Philadelphia. But they have a year-long program, and that's where I met that theater that houses that program is called the Players Club of Swarthmore. And Bree is from that area and was in a production that my dad directed when Bree was about 10 and I was 12. So we've known each other since then, but we were not friends. And we went through high school, and I was older and a lot more composed, I think.
I was gonna say, you were cooler, or what were you trying to say?
I don't know if I was cooler. It was pretty nerdy, but I was definitely very, I thought I was, Bree is water and I am earth. And I think when you're those things, maybe even fire and I'm earth, but I think that those things don't necessarily like clock in high school.
Right.
So we didn't become friends in high school. We ended up in a couple shows together, so we knew each other. And then I was actually very good friends with a person that Bree was writing with named Marcus Stevens, who connected me when they were working on a project, and I ended up singing for one of their projects, and I loved what they'd written. So we knew each other through that. And then I was at college at Barnard, and I was in their English department, and I loved it there, and I loved their English department, and the professors that I had were incredible. And I was being sort of mentored by an incredible writer named Carol Phillips, who's a Caribbean writer who lived in the UK and sort of took me under his wing. And he happened to be a novelist and a playwright and a screenwriter. And so he sort of like shifted my angle towards playwriting, because I was writing okay fiction in his like fancy fiction class that I'd gotten into. And then I shared a play with him, and he was like, "Oh, this is what you should do. This is what you do." And I was like, "Oh, somebody who knows what they're talking about actually sees a path for me and sees that I've got something exciting." So that really shifted my balance. And around that time, Bree had moved to New York City to go to NYU, and we started talking and started writing together. So that was my training. And then once I got out of college, I didn't go to graduate school, but I did go to the BMI workshop, which is a great place, and it's free, which is really rare. And it's like very rule driven. But for me, that was great because I like knowing what rules I'm going to break. I like to try to do a really good job of breaking the rule if I'm going to break the rule, and know what I'm supposed to be doing. So that was actually a really good place for me, because I didn't know anything about songwriting at that time. So I learned a lot. And then the place where I think I turned into the writer that I was becoming is the Dramatists Guild has they have a fellowship that's a combination of playwrights and musical theater writers. And that was a really elemental place for me. And I learned, I feel like because I was writing plays and I was writing musicals, and there really weren't very many people in the room doing both, I think I got the best of the education. Like that education was just built for me. The kinds of people that were in that room, the kinds of writers who were in my core group. It was Rachel Axler, who's now a TV writer, Anna Ziegler, who's an incredible playwright, Rajiv Joseph. Those are the playwrights in the room. And then Bree and I were there. And then there were a couple other really incredible musical theater writers too. So it was just this really beautiful synergy, and our group was very, very close. And then we were mentored by Lynn Ahrens and Steve Flaherty, and the two of them have stayed. And actually also by Gretchen Cryer and Nancy Ford, who wrote I'm Getting My Act Together and Taking Another Road. And both of those sets of writers were huge influences on me when I was a teenager. So actually like being with them and being able to learn from them and have them treat me, they really treated us like we were about to be peers. And they were really incredible, and the way that they mentored was really inspiring. So those people had an enormous impact. And it was also like, some of it's also when you meet someone and whether or not you're ready. And I was really ready. So I feel like I learned maybe the most from them as writers. And they've stayed, all four of them have stayed they've stayed mentors in my life, and I reach out to them now and then. And Nancy and Gretchen came to see a concert that Bree and I did recently, and like we saw them in the front row, and there's nobody, we haven't seen anybody in so long. So we sat there, I sat there on stage, and I was just like so moved by the fact that they were there. So it's really nice.
I already can tell that I could probably just talk to just you for a whole hour. I'm so sorry. I was like, oh my gosh, I think we're already almost at time.
Oh my goodness.
So I want to like jump into Justice for a moment, but also too, I hope it's okay that I mentioned like you've had a lot of life changes recently, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so how has that influenced your writing? And then we'll segue.
This is my baby. He's sleeping.
Hi. Oh.
I have a 5-year-old who's, I think, being babysat by a device for a little bit. That's our new normal during nap time, is also like, you can play on your tablet for a little bit,
right?
So we can get writing done. Yeah, we have I have a 5-year-old and 8-month-old, and that's a lot in a pandemic. But it's also been kind of incredible. I feel really grateful for this time. Having a baby is really challenging as a musical theater writer. Like, there's financial challenges, but there's also like major time challenges. Both my husband and I write musicals.
Oh my goodness.
So we both go out of town to do projects, and I definitely felt it was really challenging with Lucy, my 5-year-old, when she was, that first year is really hard because you don't ever want to leave them. And I nursed both babies, and it was just a lot to try to be in workshops and make sure that you're not losing your career, because you're also never getting, you don't have any, there's no paid maternity leave or anything like that. So you're just like waiting, you're just trying to make it all work. So having the world stop for this baby's entire life so far has been an incredible gift to me, because I haven't had to worry about, giving up that time. I've been able to do all the writing that I've done from home. And I've been able to get a lot done. And that was actually really nice to discover too, is that it's really possible to keep working and to have the baby. And she's also a very easy baby. So I got very lucky on that front too.
I think I've heard that from a lot of my friends that have had babies in the pandemic, that they're all like the best sleepers. It's like they understand what is going on in the world. And they're like, we're going to give mommy and daddy a little bit of reprieve.
I think I actually think it's a really big reflection on what kind of anxiety we've been putting on ourselves and our babies when we aren't home. The way that we had, we shouldn't be getting into this during this 15 minutes, but I could go on about parental leave and the ways it's done in other countries and the way it's done in our country. And I have a lot of strong feelings about it. I will say that there is this incredible organization called PAAL, which is Parent Artist League, I think and they're awesome. And they're doing incredible work, trying to deal with the fact that most theater artists are not, they don't have a pension, they don't have paid parental leave, and a lot of our jobs take us out of town, and theaters don't have the budget to necessarily bring kids with you, and it gets really complicated. And they've been making huge strides in trying to make theater more family friendly. If we didn't have my in-laws live downstairs from us, and that is literally the only reason we were able to have a second child.
Right.
So
that advocacy work is so important. I'm glad that you mentioned who they are. Sean is very big proponent, and I know that I am obviously too, because I want to have children myself. I don't think that being a part of the arts means you have to sacrifice the idea of having a family, and that drives me crazy. And I know that Sean is very embracing of that. and making sure even, his
Yeah.
wife, Veronica, works consistently, as a mom. That's important for me as I go into my future as, this associate artistic director, being underneath his leadership and being able to say, okay, this partner of mine believes in my right to have a child.
Yeah.
Like, it's huge. And so
it's amazing. I mean, I've learned a lot from Lauren, actually. She and I sat and like went out to dinner one night when I think it was right after I first had Lucy. And I was like, okay, how do you do it? How did you have 2 kids? How have you had the career that you've had? And, she really was so helpful with like sort of mentoring me as a mom of 2 kids when I just had one. And it made it feel more possible. I feel like anytime you can see people doing the thing that you're imagining yourself doing, whether it's imagining yourself as a writer or imagining yourself as a parent and an artist, or however that is, if you can see other people doing it and see a path that doesn't look like utter hell or it doesn't look impossible, I think it makes it more, it allows your imagination to sort of thrive a little bit and shift gears a little and try to see the world a little differently. But yeah, I've been so amazed and excited by the way I hear you and I hear Sean talk about that part of things, and like just very holistically that these are people with lives. All the people who are making these things are people with lives, and we're going to make better things if we are not stressed. And it's the same thing with our babies. Like if they feel taken care of and they feel like they're not being like shoved off on somebody else because someone is telling you have to pretend that baby doesn't exist.
Right.
They feel more settled, they feel more relaxed, and then they are easier to be around. Some of it's also personality, but
of course. So then as we start to wrap up really quickly, what excites you about Justice? We haven't talked about Justice, but I want us to get to know you. There'll be plenty of time for Justice soundbites in the future. But why are you excited about this particular work?
Here's my cup. I've got my Justices here. I'm excited about it. I didn't know that much about Sandra Day O'Connor when I started working on this project. I knew quite a bit about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think that's true of a lot of people because of the amount of like press and the documentary and things like that had happened.
And celebrity too, that it's
exactly like the dial turned on her, and like what people knew about her was much there was just more information about her just in the regular media, and I didn't know that much about the Supreme Court, actually. Like I knew some things, and I probably knew a little more than many people, but there was so much that I didn't know, and it was really thrilling to start to learn that stuff and to come in as a relative novice who does like to research and start to realize that there's a lot that we can teach in addition to exploring and creating these people that are full-blooded. There are so many historical moments that I learned about through musicals. I remember being in like the AP history test and doing quite well, in part because of things that like I didn't actually learn in history class, but because of things that I knew from musicals and had memorized from musicals, dates I'd memorized.
Right on. Right.
So
on.
I think that there's something really valuable about what we can do in terms of accessing history, because we're accessing it through emotion, we're accessing through like the drive of a character, and I think many people can hang on to it more easily than if you're just looking at the dry facts of what happened. And when you try to like embody a character like Sandra Day O'Connor, who is so interesting and full of so many contradictions that are beautiful. We are, as humans, full of contradictions. So allowing her to, not trying to make her exactly one thing or exactly another thing. She's not a liberal, but she's also not a conservative by today's conservative standards.
Right.
And so seeing that gray area, and that it's not even gray, it's actually it's like this rainbow of a human being, and seeing all the different colors of that person and trying to distill it down enough that you can write songs about it,
Right.
which means it can't be like too nuanced, but it then becomes something that I think an audience can really feel like they get emotionally. And I think that when you do that, you have the ability to open hearts and minds and have people look at things from someone else's perspective. I've talked about this before in different places, but I think a lot about seeing the show Fun Home. And when I saw that show, which is about this little girl who is dealing with her father being gay and realizing she herself is gay, and thinking about it more actually about identity than about sexual orientation. And this moment where she sees herself and this woman in a diner. And I remember sitting in the theater and being like, wow, no one's ever asked me to put myself in this little girl's, like this kind of little girl's shoes. And I'm so capable of it. And I think that that's such an important part of theater. We are, because of the music, you are brought into someone else's experience and someone else's emotional life that forces you to, you're just a little bit more open, and it's not intellectual. And I can get in my head, but I think that's why I love theater so much. I love musicals so much, because it kind of pushes that step away, and you're just trying to understand how this other person feels. And you don't ever have to feel that way, and you never have to be that person again. But in that moment when they're singing, there you are with them, and you are experiencing what they're experiencing. And the music is helping you feel that feeling that they're feeling. And so I think it's really exciting to take someone like Sandra Day O'Connor and someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, where most people in the audience are going to be on one side or the other side, and to examine them and to try to feel for them. And then we have a third character in our story who is neither Sandra Day O'Connor nor Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she is a discovery that we get to make as an audience, and trying to be in her shoes as well. And her shoes, looking at the two of them and trying to figure out what she should do with their legacies. And so I think that, and make the decision that she's going to make. So I think that thinking about those kinds of things makes me very excited, because I think it puts the audience in a place of examination of their own preconceived notions, but also letting go of the examination part and just feeling for these women. And I think that we don't get to do that even in musicals as much as we ought to. We often are feeling for white men protagonists.
Right.
That's the history that we have. That's who was writing musicals. That's who we were portraying in musicals. And so I think that there's an opportunity there to say, what if we try to put ourselves in these shoes, and have everyone try to put ourselves in these shoes. And I think it changes you. It changes the way you look at the world.
That was like mic drop, best answer. And beautiful. I mean, it was more than enough. Thank you so much, Kait.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really. We do have our guests leave us with one word, a word that resonates with you, a word that is like now for you and what you're going through. It could be about the project. It could be about just your existence right now as we go into this second leg of this pandemic. What is resonating with you at this moment? I'd
say one of my favorite quotes from anything that I've read that I think about a lot and just like daily life is it's from Tom Stoppard. There's a line where he says, "Happiness is equilibrium, shift your weight." And that makes me think of balance, which is something that I think is such an interesting part of this project, and the idea of justice. But also it's something that, you're constantly trying to find balance in your life, and like the work-life balance is definitely a big thing that we're thinking about here and in my little world. Balance.
So balance. Love it. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on Hang and Focus. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. And hello to everyone.
Thank you.
So hello and welcome to Hang and Focus. We are so grateful to have you as one of our guests. We've been wanting to talk to you more specifically, and because I know that we've talked to you all in groups, but I would love to learn more about you and how you got started. So I'm going to jump right in. Please tell everybody just a little mini brief bio of the excellence that you possess.
Of me?
Yes.
Not of how I came to Justice or Lauren or Kait, just
Oh,
little.
we'll get there. We'll get
Okay,
there.
fine.
I promise.
I started writing songs when I was a wee little one. I wrote a song called "The Fluffy Cat Loves to Eat," and then I followed that up with like this enormous bop called "Happy Housewarming" when I was like 8. Those were like the big early hits. But actually, I've been working professionally in theater as a songwriter since I was 18. I've never had another job beyond that. I just freaking loved musicals. Kait, I don't know what Kait said, but Kait wanted to like go into academia or to be to write novels or something, but I just loved musicals and I just grabbed her and was like, we have to make them together. And then Lauren and I had a meet cute like 10 years ago set up through someone. We like sat and we had, I remember it was falafel, and we talked about like a commission she had from the Kennedy Center, and we wrote that together. That was called The Amazing Adventures of Dr. Wonderful and Her Dog. And we had a great messy collaboration on that. And like we continue to we've written like between my collaborations with these two women, it's probably like somewhere between like 10 and 20 pieces we've made together. But these are my two most frequent collaborators and close friends. And so like what a gift for the three of us to get to work together. This is our first full length, like a general audience's musical for stage, but that's the three of us. So it's really exciting.
That is so wonderful. And thank you for giving that comprehensive overview, because we did talk to Kait too. And Kait talked about a lot about how you guys, met when you were younger. And I was like, what a beautiful like relationship though, to have fostered that at such a young age. And then to know like, I don't know, I think your chosen family is really important. And so it's not just colleagues, but I also feel like there's a sense of familiarity in that way. At least in my experiences with you all, I've been like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a room with like friends, but I am like actually. So that is so cool. I also want to give a shout out to some of your fans that are in Phoenix. When they found out that y'all were composing for Justice, they were like, hold on, wait a minute. They're like, wait, Bree Lowdermilk? Like, Kait Kerrigan, how? How did you guys do that? And so I just want to talk about how, and I did this a little bit with Kait, but how your reputation like precedes you here. There's so many people that are just excited. And then even like myself, I was like, well, as soon as I found out about you, I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to go look up some music. And then I was like, oh my God, I love your music so much. So let's talk about your style and like kind of what influences your style a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a musical theater composer at heart and songwriter and dramatist, so it really comes from the story, and I write music based on whatever the story is demanding. I think I have like defaults I fall into that feel like kind of in an emotion, heart first, singer-songwritery kind of thing. I always was obsessed with like girls with guitars was always like where my heart was. So that's always there. I love female voices in harmony, like is just like the greatest for me. Like I love just like that like treble sense of just like voices mixing together. I like pairing together unexpected voices. I do things with like, I don't know, like pulling together people who are like wailing for Jesus and also opera singers like in the same like in the same pieces is like really exciting for me. And I also love anything that involves research. And when I get to like pull in different like fragments of things. But really like whatever the piece is. Lauren and Kait and I did something at the Kennedy Center 2 years ago that was about space, and so like it was a very spacey score and a lot of that. But in the same way that I think like any theater artist comes to a piece and they're kind of looking for what does this need? What am I bringing to it? That's what I show up with, is just like a wholehearted sense of what am I gonna bring. But I do think that like, if there are people excited about my songs, they tend to be excited about like big journeys within a song that have like big emotional highs and lows, which like as a human is like pretty true to like my lived experience.
Right.
I have a lot of highs and lows as a human, so it's not that surprising that that's what my songs do as well.
No, for sure. But it shows the breadth of your experience. And I think as an actress, right? Like before, I sang in church my whole life. So people are like, oh, you sing, you do musical theater. But I always did plays. So then when I was thrust into this musical theater realm, I was like, okay, it works out that I can sing, but I really like focus on this. But I feel like your music gives meat and substance and storytelling, which then allows, actors to be like, oh my God, I can really connect. I hate that like stigma that musical theater isn't, but that not as hard hitting as like a straight play. Like, what is your thoughts about that? Like that stereotype?
I mean, I think that musical theater is rightly like described sometimes as like the most American of art forms. Like, I think the fact that it like pulls together so many different kinds of disciplines is one of the things I like about it. I like that it stretches me, that I'm writing words in one moment or music, or I'm like talking about like what something visually looks like, or I'm like talking to the lighting designer, or I'm talking to the actors and I'm getting deep into their process. And unlike in film and TV, I guess if you're like a showrunner in film or something like that, but like you don't usually get to like have your hands in everything. But in theater, there's a little bit more of a like, hey kids, let's put on a show. And so I think that I think in general, like that's the thing that should be exciting about musicals is that they're not meant to be created by one person. They're meant to be created by a team and a team of people who have specialties in different mediums. And I think it's terrible that people put, like, we joke about it, but it sucks that people were like, oh, Chanel, you're a singer, so you do this.
Right. So this
like,
box,
it sucks that people like assume you do one thing, but like of all art forms, like musical theater should be something where we say like everyone is expected to be a hyphenate, and like everyone like, and like that we never just assume like what box someone belongs in. Musical theater should not have boxes unless it's like a very low budget production, in which case all you have are boxes for people to stand and sit on.
Absolutely. That's so true. I'm at the Utah Shakespeare Festival right now, and the same actors that are in Ragtime are the same actors that are in Richard III. And so it's so nice to see the breadth of their true work be able to be seen. And so that speaks a lot to what you're saying. So I'm excited about your background right now because you have a beautiful piano. I feel like your literal home screams that I am an artist and I compose beautiful work. So talk about like your space when you're getting in the mood to write. Like, do you light a candle, or like is there some sort of
oh my gosh, can you imagine? No, I have so much technology. This is not my studio. My studio is just like this room upstairs that has like just so much technology in it, and it's like set up for like these very specific like meetings later this week, so I can't even go in there right now. And it gives me so much anxiety even to walk in. But there's I like my writing process, unfortunately right now, because everything is virtual. Like it's all just me like grabbing a keyboard when I need it and plugging it in, and like just like everything goes into the computer right now. It sucks. I like if it was up to me, it would be about like making music with people in person in the room, and it sounds like we're gonna get to do some of that in the lead up to Justice.
So that's a good segue into Justice. So we are so excited to have you again. We cannot be more ecstatic. I really feel like we have the dream team on this, between having you and Kait and Lauren and Melissa. Like, it's a quadruple factor. That's not a word. But we're just really excited for all that is Justice. So why is Justice exciting for you to write about specifically? What was your relationship with these two women before you were asked to be on this project? Or what have you learned, that in your research since deciding like, okay, this is my subject matter, so this is how I'm going to delve in?
I mean, I'm a big podcast person, so like I'd listened to a bunch of like broad Supreme Court justice podcasts, and like I feel like every year or two, like there's like these big periods of time where a lot of decisions come out, and like we all like, and I feel like I'm one of those people who like I like don't think about it too much for like 6 months, and then like there's like a couple weeks where it's like, oh shit, like it's the end of their session and they're gonna release all of the controversial opinions right now, and I'm like, I need to understand everything about what's going on. So I don't know. My friend, my best friend and her wife got married by Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the Justice Justice's chambers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's an opera singer, and of course Ruth was such a feels weird to call them by their first names, but like it's also like
You
we're
spent
right.
so much time with them, right?
Right. But obviously I don't know these people. Justice Ginsburg, my goodness. But yeah, no, she was a big opera fan, is something that's widely known. So that's, I think, how my friend who's an opera singer, was able to get married in her chambers, which was really meaningful. And like beyond that, I just like, I think that I get really excited about like using musicals in ways they're not usually, in ways that we don't usually use them. Like I think of them as tools to get at ideas and tools to get at things. And so like, you know, Lauren and Kait and I, we write very emotional things, but we're pretty nerdy. And so I think that like, you know, this all came about like with the three of us in mind and with the three of us like working together. And so like the thing that I immediately got excited about was specifically the Lauren, Kait, and Bree and Ruth and Sandra and Vera of it. And like, just like the combination of these ideas and just getting to dream together and to try and figure out how to, rather than creating like a bunch of podcast episodes explaining,
Right.
rather than explaining, to feel it and to try and like feel the emotional contours of like generational change on the court and changes of identity on the court and like how we experience changes within our lifetime and also changes that outlive us.
Now, without giving away everything, because you know it's still a work in progress, and you're still making up your mind about some of the work. What is the one piece you've written that is most exciting to you, or has the most discoveries for you at this moment in your process?
I'm really excited about the pairing of two songs. One is called Dissent Is Not Enough, which like I just like has something really like it feels really immediate and visceral. And I mean, it's called Dissent Is Not, like really, I guess it's like, you know, I love the idea that Ruth is Justice Ginsburg is celebrated for these ideas of like dissent and about like writing, you know, notes in a bottle to the next generation, and like these beautiful dissents that kind of that were meant to lay a groundwork, a framework for future justices to go farther than she was able to go. Dissent Is Not Enough is this like visceral rebuke to that. I mean, it's literally called Dissent Is Not Enough. And I love sitting in that phrase and that idea, and like that it's not enough, and like the idea of being patient and needing to be patient for change. Like as a trans person, like I definitely resonate with that. And I definitely resonate with like a sense of like deep frustration sometimes. And then, you know, we're writing this like very musical theater 11 o'clock like number for Justice Ginsburg called Come At Me at the end that I think is really exciting to like try and imagine what Justice Ginsburg would say to people who say that she should have stepped down during Obama's turn. The people who said that she didn't go far enough in certain places, people who like take issue with diversity among her. I mean, we don't need to like litigate, but truly like, and in talking to people who've worked with Justice Ginsburg, like the answer to everyone has been when we asked like, what would she say? And the answer is, yeah, bring it on. Like, absolutely. Like, this is the whole point, is to get into the debates around these ideas and to really, really question. And I love that message that the best you can hope for as someone who wants to be a leader or someone who is progressing an important agenda is to be eclipsed in your own time, is to see change come swift and overtake you. Like, you know, and personally, in terms of like my identity and my communities, like, I really hope like that, you know, in even as short as 5 or 10 years, there are queer kiddos whose like, you know, way of talking about gender and talking about sexuality and talking about identity, you know, is foreign to me and is totally eclipsing mine. Like, this is what it is, you know, is that like you want to hope and cheer for like people to go even farther than you could. Or at least that's what I want, and I want to believe that that's what Justice Ginsburg would want too.
Well, absolutely, and that's evolution, right? Like they paved the way, and then we fix it or get better, and then we pave the way, and then the next generation takes over. I mean, even with like the organization that I help run, which is centered around fine arts, social justice initiatives for BIPOC people, and I'm just kind of like, truly, I don't want us to even need my organization in 10 years. That's the goal. So we've progressed so far forward, but there's not a need for that anymore. So that's beautiful. What is a unique discovery that you have found during this process? Maybe with, I would say, let's say Sandra Day O'Connor. What was a unique discovery with Sandra Day O'Connor that you didn't expect to find?
Well, I never would have expected that she was known for cooking Mexican food.
That's true. I don't think I knew that either. It's like, how do you write that in a song then too, right?
Somewhere Kait is rhyming the word fajitas with something.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been just so lovely. So with our guests, we always have our guests leave a word with us, a word that resonates with you deeply, that expresses the moment that we're in right now. It could be anything from, your personal process to justice or just how you feel today. So what is a word that is resonating deep in your spirit?
The word that's coming up for me is very connected to this lovely conversation we had about like that feeling of being replaced, but being replaced in a way that like goes far past what you could have imagined and like what are secretly your deepest hopes. And like the only feeling that I can think of when I think about that is gratitude. Like that's all it is. Like that, like what else can you feel when you think generationally and when you think about the work you can do in your lifetime and also the limits to what you can do as an individual person? What else can you think when you think to the people who are coming after you and coming at you? What else can you put? What else can you feel in the face of that other than gratitude?
Well, I know that I'm so grateful for you for being on today. And I also know that I feel really incredibly lucky to be during, a part of this process, seeing it from the ground floor, literally being birthed as we speak, and seeing how it has evolved and changed. It's just such a special project. And you are special, and so is the entire creative team. And we're just grateful to have you. So thank you for doing this interview with us.
Can't wait to meet you in person in Arizona.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
This is your call board for August 27th to September 2nd, 2021. Hello, I'm Assistant Digital Producer Alex Hollis, and thank you so much for joining us today, where we had a conversation with Kait Kerrigan and Bree Lowdermilk from our upcoming production of Justice. Be sure to join us next Friday, September 3rd at 4 p.m. Arizona time for another exciting guest on Hang and Focus. Now let's hear from the Giving Corner. Take it away, development.
On today's Giving Corner, we want to congratulate ATC's very own Alex Hollis, nominee for the 2021 Arizona Theater Award of Excellence for Artistic Specialization for Live Video Game Design in Space 55's The Hidden Sea. Congratulations to Alex and all the Arizona Theater Award nominees. Please join Arizona's theater community on Sunday, September 26th at the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts. Tickets available now at arizonaAwards.net. And be sure to stop by Arizona Theater Company's booth in the outdoor exhibit area to learn more about our upcoming 54th season. Congratulations again to all of this year's nominees.
Thank you so much, Eddie. Now it's time to find out what's happening at theaters around Arizona. All right, this week, let's head up to Phoenix. B3 Theater is bringing us Sincerity Forever. This virtual event will be available to view until September 5th. You can check out more at b3theater.com. Arizona Broadway Theater is bringing us the Spitfire Grill. This in-person show will be available through September 5th. COVID protocols will be in place, and you can learn more at azbroadway.org. Tucson Museum of Art recently acquired Information Science by Matt McGee, a visual look at computer codes and paintings. This in-person event is available to see starting August 24th. You can learn more at tucsonmuseumofart.org. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, please tell a friend, pass it along, like us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Ring that bell so you can be notified when we air live and to see our latest content. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next week.